You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. By going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com, you can make this possible.
And in money news, the Federal Reserve's decision to cut the interest rate by a quarter point for the second time in just about a 6-month period since July is a double-edged sword for many Americans. On one hand, there's a concern about a slowing economy, and that's one of the reasons why they cut the interest rate. Slowing economy, ongoing trade war, which could raise the prices of some of the things you buy. But on the other hand, when you cut the interest rate, that means that retirees, people who live off their savings account, interest on their savings, they have less money, and in some cases, they lose buying power. Greg, this is extremely significant, especially since 45 has been fighting with the chairman, Jerome Powell, the chairman of the Fed, sending all these signals about he wants him to lower the interest rate, lower the interest rate, lower the interest rate. What's the significance to you and to us?
Well, I think, the central bank is worried about the economy. I mean, the President of the United States has, in many ways, shrunk the federal government down to fit him, an unhinged, failed businessman. And he wants Jerome Powell to act like he does. Play like his money is going to never run out. Now, of course, the Fed can print money, and I guess there was a dollar shortage earlier in the week. And you're best equipped, of course, Dr. Malvo, to lead us through all of this as an economist. I mean, in reading this, I'm thinking to myself, they're worried about China and trade. Mm-hmm. They said that. Trump cannot be trusted. Don't listen to him at all. And then apparently there was a split in the vote. Some people wanted, and I'm like, what is going on at the Fed?
There was a dissension vote, which was kind of surprising as well. But I think that these are things that we need to pay attention to really the bullying of the Fed chair and those members as well, that because they're not accountable to the president. They answer to Congress.
They're supposed to be an independent body.
Absolutely.
The chairman of the Fed has a 14-year term, deliberately outlasting any president. Absolutely. It's not tied to the president. So Powell was Trump's appointee. So he picked this man, but this man is a banker. He's steeped in monetary principles. Prior to this, I would not have agreed with him on very much, frankly. But the fact is that he has been a stalwart for the independence of the Fed. And this is what 45 can't stand, is independence. Right. He wants everybody to bow down to him and say it's his world. Honey?
Yeah, I completely agree. That's what Donald Trump wants to do, just about him and what benefits him as well in terms of this issue as well.
Yeah,
I sure hope these New York people can get to the bottom of some of his tax returns, because some of these.
Letitia James gonna get them tax returns. That sister gonna get them tax returns.
Because some of the decisions that he's made seem to directly monetarily affect him. I mean, he has turned the Oval Office into a grifter's paradise.
The nation. He's used the weight of the office for the nation. And just talking about Letitia James, I believe that, of course, Trump's attorneys are, in trying to ensure that they don't get a hold of those tax returns. And I agree that they will. And going back to this piece with what's happening with the economy, I mean, Germany's economy is starting to slow down. So we're starting to see the hallmarks of a recession, particularly because President Barack Obama's economy and the low unemployment rate, that definitely is time-stamped. It's not something that can go on forever. And so I love that you said, you can't believe anything that comes out of Donald Trump's mouth. You can't. I believe that be in the interest of American people just to turn a deaf ear to that, do a lot more reading, listening to sensible people like you who are, well-versed in the economy, but also just watching the signs. You can see and feel the slowing down of the economy. So people need to start preparing as though we are already in a recession.
The issue, we've seen a low unemployment rate. People keep talking about how low the unemployment rate is. But one of the challenges to me with the lower unemployment rate, it's 3-point-something overall, 5.5 for black folks, 4.4 for black women, but we're normalizing the fact that black unemployment is supposed to be higher than overall unemployment. So when you hear him crowing about, the unemployment rate is so low for black people, well, then close the gap. Then do something to close the gap.
Right. And what do those numbers really mean? And when I hear you talk, when I hear Bill Spriggs talk, when I hear black economists talk, and then when as you said, when we look at our people, You know, we were just talking about it before we came on air. We got people in college working 30, 40 hours a week.
Yes.
The unemployment doesn't mean that you are financially in good shape. I mean, people are busting
Well,
their
wages are
tails.
when wages are stagnant. So one of the things that has been a byproduct of this economy has been stagnant wages. Wages have only gone up a little bit less than 3%, just barely keeping up with inflation. So, you know, you see lower unemployment, but also stagnant wages. And usually in a tight, with low unemployment, wages should be going up. Employers should be bidding against each other to raise wages. So if you're a good employee and you say, gee, I'm going to leave here and go there, your boss will say, oh, no, Erica, let me give you a little more money to stay here. But right now they're like, okay, go on with your bad self.
Right.
Because they know that the next job isn't necessarily going to pay a lot more. So the conditions, the people are gaining, but those are people at the top who are gaining. And people at the bottom simply are not. And so the whole issue about recession, and I'm on the board of the Economic Policy Institute. So today, we had our board meeting, and one of our economists who does a great job, Josh Bivens, was talking about whether or not when we were going. He says not if, it's when we go into a recession. Now the question is whether it's going to come within the next year to affect the election, or whether it's going to come in, let's say, 2021. We know it's coming, and the question is when it's coming. And one of the challenges is that if it goes down in the next year, it will affect 45, because the only thing he had going for himself was the economy. But if it takes a little bit longer, he may be reelected.
Well, I think it may have already hit him in an irrevocable way. I mean, we see, of course, one of the biggest stories in the country right now is this GM strike. I mean, GM is sitting on so much money as a result of this grand theft that the GOP pulled off year for last with this tax cut. And these women and men are like, you're not hiring. You're laying us off. And so they've gone on strike. It may be too late, Doc. It may be too late.
Well,
it may be that he's already has tipped over, because that you're talking about now, you're talking about Michigan, you're talking about Pennsylvania, you're talking about Wisconsin. These are the states that he barely stole.
So, you know, GM, we talk about coal. We talk about coal miners who are angry with him because he claimed that he was going to save coal and he didn't. You're talking about teachers striking
in red states.
Yes,
That's right.
teachers who, some of whom voted for him.
That's right.
So, you know, we're looking at something of a tsunami in terms of what's happening with the economy. But, you know, he still is doing his thing. He's doing his thing. Erica,
he's gonna do that.
Regardless, right?
It's amazing. Well, my line is, look, if you elect a clown, expect a circus.
That's it.
and let the sideshow begin.
Not the universe soul circus.
And you know, what we've seen is the Department of Labor, every department doing things to undermine the progressive nature, which isn't really that progressive, but what we have had on the books as progressive economic policies. Not to mention, and we're not even going to go there, Betsy, devoid of good sense, the Secretary of Education, Miseducation, who is giving tax breaks to for-profit colleges and doing everything she can, again, to undermine, offering to use some of the student loan funds for the wall. But Greg, you are, you know, at Howard University, where so many of our brilliant young people are. Yeah. What are you seeing in terms of students in the economy?
I'm seeing students working too many hours. Yeah. We were just talking about it. I mean, Erica, you know, you sharing with us about your son. I mean, you got at Morehouse, you got students not eating. Yeah. I mean, you know, I teach a class at Howard Law School. You have students who are working entirely too many hours to be in law school and succeeding in spite of it. The economy is we're precariously perched. And when you mention people on fixed incomes, or for that matter, most people are not in the stock market. We know our people not in the stock market.
More than half of us are not there.
Are not in the stock market.
Well, first of all, half of all Americans are not in the stock market.
Exactly. And then you look at our people, that's what I was going to say. At HBCUs, you know, and you know this having run one and been a faculty member, faculty members at HBCUs aren't making money like faculty members at HWCUs.
Oh, no.
And our money's in TIE craft. So you look at my mother at 91 years old, fixed income, we pinch off sitting there. The stock market affects her in a negative way, like you said. These are the conversations we need to be having. We're sending money, but our money's in TIE craft, and it ain't a whole lot of money to begin with. So you're literally playing with the futures, faculty, staff, and students. And the staff isn't making much money to begin with. Anti-unionism isn't just a white university thing. So as you talking about unionizing on these campuses, you've got people who are now either don't have a union or who are being fought against. this is the time when we need to re-examine everything.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. All right, folks, you've heard me talk a lot about marijuanastock.org because I want to keep you informed of investment opportunities that make sense. And we've all watched the growth of the cannabis industry. A recent report by New Frontier Data estimates the global cannabis market at more than $340 billion. We know that marijuana legalization is sweeping the country state by state. We also know that marijuana has a good cousin, the hemp plant, with a much higher concentration of CBD. That means hemp gives you all the medical benefits of marijuana without getting you high. Until recently, hemp farming was practically illegal in the U.S. and heavily regulated by the DEA. However, the 2018 Farm Bill changed all of that, making it legal to grow hemp CBD in the U.S., creating one of the largest commodities worldwide. They need land to grow all the plants, and that's where our good friends at 420 Real Estate come in. Their business model is simple. They buy land that supports hemp CBD grow operations and lease it to licensed, high-paying tenants. That's right, they are hemp CBD landlords. And you can get in on the action. Now, what they've done, 420 Real Estate has done is offer this special deal for the folks who watch Roland Martin Unfiltered. Originally, the minimum investment level was $500. Now you can invest in this crowdfunding campaign for as little as $200 up to $10,000. Again, this is a $340 billion industry that is still growing. You can participate with as little as $200. To invest, go to marijuanastock.org. That's marijuanastock.org. Get in the game and get in the game now. Now back to your Roland Martin Unfiltered video.